again, within the first week of flipping to all buyer leads, I got John and Rita, $760,000 house. My brokerage's commission on that was $19,000 from that first week. My name is Fricke. I'm with Signature Real Estate Group in Murrieta, California. That's in Southern California. I'm a solo agent. My son's getting his license and he's just about to join the team. My son will be the first one. We'll have more come on. And really, because of your ad spend, it's really up to me how much I want to spend. If I want another 50 leads, I can spend another, X amount of dollars. And then the more people I bring on, I just want to be able to say, this is what I've seen work. This is what's happened with me so far. This is the ROI for me. And sell myself as, a team leader. So I think sky's the limit. My beginnings in real estate were actually over 20 years ago. Right out of college, I was doing mortgage loans and real estate back in Michigan. I got out of that, did a number of different things in contracting, always stayed in the home industry. But just a few years ago, during the pandemic, I started kind of exploring maybe the need to get back into it so that when time came, I'd be ready. So I started making those strides back into getting the license, getting relicensed in California. But as far as a lead source and anything to keep me organized, I just didn't have really anything. But I really wanted to go full bore, 100% in. If this is going to work, it's going to work now. So take whatever risks are necessary. So I asked my broker, I said, what would you think? What is your opinion when it comes to platforms like CINC? Well, our office actually used CINC as a platform, so she was all on board about it. What she didn't do was ever take advantage of it as a lead source when we started to use an ad spend and funneling leads in. So I kind of stumbled upon CINC in that regard. So when I first talked to my sales rep, I went, oh, I didn't realize that's what this was. I thought it was more just a pay for a lead here and there, but it was a total ad spend divided by how many I think that I'm going to get that month. On average, you get 30, 45 leads, something like that. And then see what happens. Well, I decided to take the jump and take the lead. It's been great so far. From my initial account manager, from Nate Randall, who brought me in and scheduled those calls and spent that one-on-one time with me. We'd walk through my dashboard. He'd be able to tell me, here's what you're doing well. Here's something you probably overlooked. Check this out, probably help you out a little bit. Now, Nate said, after the first, month or 6 weeks, I can't remember how much time I spent with him. He says, I'm always here for you, but now I'm going to convert you over to your regular account manager. But even in the meantime, I also had my trainings with Sarah, which was all about the training on the site itself. So I would say that I was having a difficult time just keeping up with all the trainings that were available to me. I mean, there was so much available, I had to buy out more time to do it myself. But it was super, super helpful in all those ways. Sarah really helped me see the potential and the functionality of the site as a whole. Things I never would have seen, from my first introductory training. So the training's been awesome. I can't recommend it enough. It's nice to see the engagement of when they register and when they log back in. And if I can see active users that are constantly logging back in, or at least opening the email, seeing the clicks, very, very quickly your leads accumulate. So for me to be able to just quickly filter groups and go, okay, these are the ones that are actually going back to the website, that means I need to spend more of my time engaging with them and placing them in the pipeline. Then there's those at the very bottom who just checked it out one time, left, and never came back. Not to say that they would at some point down the road keep checking out again, but they're probably not as motivated to make a move right. But I can use my time more efficiently by using CINC and its features, by saying who's using it, who's checking this out. When I first started with CINC in mid-June, I was thinking I would do kind of 80-20 of seller and buyer leads. I started to see that CINC was designed around more of a buyer interaction. And so I took a few weeks to realize that. I talked to my account manager and they said, yeah, no problem. We'll flip you to all buyer leads starting August 1st. Well, trying to follow the scripts, trying to follow, the call cadence and whatnot. Within the first week, I got a call from a buyer and his wife, John and Rita Maldonado. And what they were doing was moving from Arizona, coming back to California. He told me in the very first conversation, look, I'll be honest with you. I've got 3 realtors that I'm talking to. You're one of 3. But if you can find me kind of what I'm looking for and get us to the next step, we're going to be moving in 6 weeks. So let's see what you can do. Well, in the first few interactions there, I could tell that I'm going to have to do something different than the rest of the guys next to me if I was going to get the business. So I said, tell you what, since you're in Arizona, the house that you're most interested in, let me see. And by the way, that house already had an agreement on it. So the buyer would have to do, or the seller would have to take backup off. So I'm thinking my best way to audition for the business is to do a video walkthrough of the house if they allowed a backup offer. They were. So I went the extra mile and just did the video tour without ever actually meeting my buyer face to face. And he says, well, the other guys haven't done that, so you've got my business. Well, the way it went through, that particular house, I think he was at a $620,000 price point. He loved the house, but the other buyer that was on the transaction, he through, it was progressing along, he couldn't have that one. But as we started to look at some other listings, he came for 1-2 days, I believe, drove over to California, and we looked at probably 10 houses. It ended up being above what he thought his budget was. Long story short, within a week, we're in contract for a $760,000 house in Murrieta, which he closed upon on October 14th. So I would say that was 9 weeks after my very first contact with him. Again, within the first week of flipping to all buyer leads, I got John and Rita, $760,000 house. My brokerage's commission on that was $19,000 from that first week. The buyer leads are good because half of them end up being sellers anyway. So when you're looking for, if you're just trying to isolate your marketing with just sellers, well, you're only getting potentially half of the transaction, right? But by signing up for buyers, if half of them, or a little bit less or something, are sellers as well, then you just, if they're in your same market, then you do potentially collect both sides of the equation. People might dip their feet in the water and just go, well, I just see a bunch of junk leads. They're not calling back, they're hanging up. Again, that's sales. That's just what we can expect in sales. And if you're not going to anticipate that going in, you're probably in the wrong career. There is a bunch of pent-up demand, especially on the buyer side. They've seen higher rates than they've seen in decades. And now that we're kind of coming down now to more reasonable rates, they're kind of touching the waters a little bit. And even the sellers, as we start to kind of turn over, they're starting to adjust mentally to what the rates are. So they'll think about turning over too. So I look at this time as pretty crucial that I kind of get ahead of the curve a little bit, build the pipeline now so that I know that 2025 is going to be huge. CINC just allows you to pool all of these leads together, and as long as you follow the system, go through methodic, do the call cadence, and do it on a regular basis, the training's there. As long as you're doing it, you will have success. I mean, it's a proven method to do it. I can already see it myself. I'm looking forward to seeing what this does for Volunteer. It's about relationships. The longer those go, the more you'll convert. Unless you get a John that's ready to go right now. And those come through CINC too. In my house, we've got a saying, and it's do it right or go home. And I feel like in real estate, because of the turnover that we see at agents, 100 people get their license, 95 fall out the first year or something. It's some crazy number like that. And a lot of it's because they're dipping their toes in a number of different waters, not really fully committing to something. I knew that when I went out with CINC, I'm going to have to fully commit. I mean, there is a sizable investment per month to make that work. But for my ROI, I mean, I was looking at the numbers myself, from the first commission of, 19,000 that my brokerage gets over the 8,000 that I put in so far. And that's not counting what's in my pipeline right now that I'm still building. I mean, the numbers really speak for themselves. That if you're willing to put the work in and follow the model and put some of that elbow grease financially, it does pay off. It is a numbers. You got to be able to filter through the bad to get to the good. It works out. The numbers work. My site is called Temecula Valley Homes for Sale.com. Temecula Valley is this triangle kind of in the middle of wine country, kind of between LA, Riverside, and San Diego. So it's a little sweet spot. So that's my site. I've lived in the area for many years and just love it here. So if you ever have any interest in coming down just to visit, love to take you out to the wineries and enjoy some of it. Kind of nice.